For 6-year-old Mirasol and her mother Olana, it's been a long journey. They fled Kherson, Ukraine, once the bombs started falling, and trekked hundreds of miles to the west.
We're afraid of everything. We're afraid of sleeping. We're afraid of just sitting silent because we're just permanently nervous.
Which can be said for many Ukrainians, especially those who have not gotten out. Kherson residents were seen in the streets protesting the Russian occupation of their city before gunfire erupted. Tonight, thousands of civilians are trapped in the southeastern Ukraine after hope of them escaping to besieged cities faded amid the deadly overseas battle. Ukrainian officials said Russian artillery fire and airstrikes prevented desperate residents from leaving the port city of Mariupol and the eastern city of Volnovakha before the evacuations could get underway. Russian President Vladimir Putin accused Ukraine of sabotaging the effort, warning that Ukrainian statehood is in jeopardy if the nation continues what it's doing. Putin also said Western sanctions were the, quote, equivalent of a declaration of war, and warned he would consider countries imposing a no-fly zone over Ukraine as, quote, participants in a military conflict. But for the Ukrainians on the ground living in constant fear of air raids, they continue to call on the West to close the skies.
We want
the sky over Ukraine to be closed by NATO forces. We really need the closing airspace.
Despite the pleas, the NATO Secretary General said on Friday that a no-fly zone is not an option being considered by the alliance, fearing that it will lead to a full-scale conflict involving NATO and Russia. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky did not hold back upon hearing the news.
Всі люди, які загинуть від цього дня, загинуть також і через вас, через вашу слабкість.
Meanwhile, the number of people fleeing the country has reached 1.4 million. Ukrainians, including children and elderly men and women, managed to escape Kyiv on Saturday by crossing a damaged bridge on the northwestern outskirts of the capital. The bridge, connecting the suburb of Irpin to central Kyiv, was blown up by Ukrainian forces to prevent the Russians from using it to enter the city. As a result, civilians fleeing a week of heavy bombardment were forced to scramble over heaped rubble and twisted metal to make their way to the other side. Some appeared exhausted and visibly distressed. Many refugees have made their way to the Polish-Ukrainian border, which is where U.S. Secretary of State Blinken was today, pledging not to leave the Ukrainians behind.
The entire world stands with Ukraine, just as I'm standing here in Ukraine with my friend, my colleague, Dmytro Kuleba, the Foreign Minister of Ukraine.
And an interesting development this evening, Rudabeh. The Prime Minister of Israel just wrapped up his phone call and meeting with Vladimir Putin of Russia. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said, quote, "We continue dialogue." That was just 30 minutes ago. So that's encouraging for some of the people on the ground here. Less encouraging is the ruling from NATO, which said that they will not be closing the airspace. Some Ukrainians tell us that they feel abandoned by the West, which is what we'll be discussing at the bottom of the hour. Rudabeh?
Thanks for watching. Click the red subscribe button below so you can get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.